Good evening, everybody. This is the Newfane Select Board regular meeting tonight. It is January 18th, 2021. I thank everybody for joining us. It was a long holiday weekend. It's Martin Luther King's birthday today, and people are either at work or at home, and today to honor justice. Anyway, we are here tonight to continue our meeting about various things that are coming up in the next month. So I'm calling the meeting to order. And is there any addition or amendment to the agenda? I do, yes, go ahead.
The old business, the investment property, do we want to table that for a future meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. And also what I would like to do is, later on in the meeting, we wrote that under correspondence, we would have several letters having to do with one of the appropriation requests. And I would like to move that issue up earlier in the evening to discuss it right after the administrative assistance report. Is there a motion? Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So that will go right after the administrative assistance report. Is there anything else, addition or amendment? If not, we're going to approve the first set of minutes, which was on January 4th, our regular meeting.
I will make a motion to approve the January 4th minutes.
Thank you, Angela. And Mike seconds. Any discussion about it? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's accepted. Our next meeting was on January 11th, the budget meeting. May I have a motion to accept that set of minutes, please?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. Any discussion? All
I
those-
did. Shelley,
Yes?
No, she's
I
second.
seconded.
Oh, yes, I know. I'm saying I was just about to take a vote. That's okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Oh, and Chris abstains because he was absent. Okay, the ayes do have it. And we move on to road foreman and road commissioner's report. Is Jay here? Oh, there he is.
Yes.
Hi, Jay. Would you like to give your report, please?
Sure. I just wanted to tell you I can hear you guys much better than before.
Oh, thank goodness.
It's an incredible difference.
Oh, good. Thank God. Okay.
So the letter that the select board signed asking for V-Trans assistance with the damage from the Christmas Day storm has been submitted. We have completed as much of the emergency repairs that we can do until warm weather returns. On the Depot Road box culvert, the foreclosure auction for 254 Depot Road is scheduled for tomorrow, and I will plan on attending to make contact with the new buyers about the easement that's still needed. The Newfane Village Speed Committee had a Zoom meeting to discuss the road safety audit. The recommendations they wanted to follow up on our V-Trans painting the dynamic striping at the village entrances, which is I believe it goes narrow to wider striping that has a tendency to slow you down. New signage at the entrance to the village, the radar feedback signs, and applying for a pedestrian scoping study grant to look at the potential crosswalk locations and sidewalk work.
Excellent.
The sand salt shed, Bell Engineering is working on the next phase of the plans. And we had a Zoom meeting last week to get updates, and we may have to postpone the work for a year as it seems like costs are up significantly. And our V-Trans municipal project manager felt we may get better pricing if we bid it midwinter next year. But it's still not for a sure thing yet. So we'll see once we get all the plans completed and the bid specs where we are. And we'll have to revisit it then. The storm this past Saturday knocked down many trees and power lines. The last of the roads to get reopened last night were Stratton Hill Road and River Road. And I have attached the RFP for the local hazard mitigation plan proposal. This is the grant I mentioned last time that we had apparently for some time, but we've never gone forward to having the work done. So we need to put this in the paper and hire somebody, people like Wyndham Regional, those people are the ones that normally would bid on things like this. And it takes about a year to complete. And until we get that done, we can't apply for any future FEMA grants.
Oh,
So the grant is for $10,000 with a 25% town match. So we would need to come up with our share of the 2,500. It would be, it can be a combination of money and in-kind labor to gather the data for them. So I don't think out of pocket it will be terrible, depending on how much work we're able to do ourselves. But that would get us, so a couple of those places like Wiswall Hill where we wanted to apply for the hazard mitigation grants, we are no longer able to until we complete this plan. So if you should have a copy of the plan, it's the state sent it to me and you had to fill in all the blanks, and that's what it comes up to it's a 2-page document that they covers everything so we can get reimbursed from FEMA.
can you just explain what hazard mitigation means, just in general terms?
Places that are prone to either flooding or that you might be able to address a problem before we lose the road for the second or third time. So they would go around and identify places that, like French Cabin Road, where it goes across the Beaver Dam, it floods almost every heavy rain. Places like that, they would visit and come up with a plan of how to address it. And then as we want to fix a spot like that, if it's included in our plan, it makes us much easier to get grant money for it. And if you guys want to look it over, if you're good with that, we'll put it out to bid, and it'll still be a year before we're completed, but at least we'd get it going.
I make a motion that we move ahead on the hazard mitigation grant.
I second that.
Okay. Any comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Okay, the ayes have it. And so that motion passes.
Okay, and that's all I had.
Thank you, Jay, for your continued work. I just would like to ask the road commissioner if he has anything to add to a report.
No.
You're fine?
I'm fine with what he said.
Okay. Thank you, Jay.
Sure.
You guys and your crew have done an amazing job on these roads and with all these storms we're having. So thank you so much for all your time.
We don't seem to get normal snowstorms anymore.
No.
Actually, Jay, I have a question. How does it work at the garage? Do you have a generator?
We do. We had trouble with it the other night in the middle of the storm, so we weren't able to pump fuel for a bit, but I think it's something we can fix. So the biggest problem we have is we need to keep the building heated and fuel. And I think it's a simple fix, so hopefully we can get that addressed and we'll have it ready for the next storm.
Okay. And I have to apologize. I actually left my car on the street, on West Street overnight, and then the storm came. And as I was about to come out and move the car, one of the town of Newfane trucks came and they plowed more snow on, but fortunately I was able to get through it. But I'm sorry, that was an error.
That happens.
Okay, thanks so much, Jay.
May I make a motion to accept the road foreman and commissioner's report?
Yes,
Okay.
second. Any further comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it, and thank you for that. And we move on to the administrative assistance report. Renetta.
be one informational meeting Monday, March 1st. This will allow enough time for the town reports to be mailed and received. It'll be at 6 o'clock, which is a normal selectmen's meeting. The team has been working with Core and Austin at BCTV to work out the extra details needed to provide for this informational meeting, and I want to thank them for their assistance. I'm working very hard to finish up the town report. It will go to the printers at the end of the week. Now that the common newspaper box has been moved, Mark Gray is aware of the attention needed for the steps at the Williamsville Hall to keep those clean. It is my recommendation, with the amount of correspondence the select board has received since the budget meeting of January 11th, that the select board approve the 19th article as written and let the voters decide the appropriations on restorative community justice of Southern Vermont. Articles 6 and 7 have the correct dollar amounts. Article 5, figures for the general fund, I expect to have tomorrow. So we'll need to get those warnings signed before I can send them to the printers. And I expect to do that on Friday if people are available to stop by and sign the drafts. I do need to have those articles looked at and approved for placement on the warning.
Thank you, Winetta. Is there a motion to accept Winetta's report?
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, any comments or concerns? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, so that is accepted. So now, we have moved up some correspondence and the subject matter of a particular request for appropriations that was made last week, where the select board had a tie in the voting. 2 voted for accepting the appropriation request and 2 voted nay. So we're going to revisit this tonight. And this is about the restorative justice request by Dan DeWalt. And we did get some letters from people. And what I'd like to do is read, I can't read all of them, but they're here for public information in the file. Anybody can come to the town office and read them, but I will read at least one of them. These are a few letters that were sent to the select board requesting that the restorative justice organization receive support. So I will read one of the first ones we got. And
Marion, I can read for you too if you'd like.
okay. So I'll tell you what. I'll read the first one, then I'll ask you to read one, okay?
Excellent.
Okay. So the first one, then after we read these, then we're going to revisit the thoughts and concerns from each member of the select board again, since we have to vote on it. Okay, this was written by Margaret Wimberger, and it was dated January 13th to the Newfane Select Board, and it's about restorative justice funding allocation. Dear Newfane Select Board, I have just learned that at the meeting of January 11th, the Select Board reached a stalemate regarding presenting to voters the funding request for the restorative community justice of Southern Vermont. I strongly believe the voters should have a chance to express their wishes on what I see as an increasingly important resource, one that points us toward a future of healthier communities. My understanding is that the opposition is rooted in the idea that the RCJSV's work is political, or that its facilitator, Dan DeWalt, would bring political aims to his work on it. In fact, restorative justice is not only apolitical, it is the very means by which to repair divisions among individuals and within communities, including political divisions. Dan has a remarkable ability to remain calm and hear all perspectives. He has been immersed in this work and deeply understands its principles. He might crusade hard in service of his personal political goals, but that is not the work of RCJSB. I've met a few neighbors in my 30 years in Newfane as a devoted, a healthy community, and is willing to roll up his sleeves to make that real. Imagine a boss and an employee, two co-workers, a person of color and a white person who are offended by her, a family in crisis over an estate, angry members of a school board, neighbors whose boisterous lifestyle cause other neighbors distress, a kid who steals from a neighbor's barn and the barn owner, sitting down together and treating one another with respect and openness as they are guided through a process that invites them to take responsibility, communicate needs, creative ways to repair harm on many levels, and find greater trust and understanding. I am a member of restorative justice panels of both the Brattleboro and the Greater Falls Community Justice Centers, which work with offenders in the criminal justice system. While CJSV does not work with criminal offenders, its principles can be of some enormous value in the host of situations. It is an extraordinary practice that offers me a sliver of hope about the future of our struggling communities, families, schools, correctional system, workplaces, and institutions in general. In these hard and divisive times, I long for the opportunity to sit with folks who have very different experiences and ideas from mine in terms of class, race, values, work, religious beliefs, to find common ground and increase understanding. RCJSV would be an ideal body to spearhead such an effort. Please allow Newfane please allow Newfane voters the opportunity to vote on this. Sincerely and with gratitude for all the work you do, Margaret Wimberger. So that's one letter that we got. Angela, would you like to choose another letter to read, please?
Sure. I will read the letter from Thomas Eli from Blueberry Circle. It says, Dear Newfane Select Board members, I am writing in support of the budget request of $1,000 for community restorative justice of Southern Vermont in the 2021-22 budget. As a person deeply committed to the work of restorative justice, I have benefited greatly from the training offered by RCJSBT. I am particularly interested in the effort envisioned for hosting community circles aimed at allowing people of drastically different points of view to be able to communicate with others in a respectful and meaningful way without devolving into conflict. This work that is very much needed in all the communities, and we are fortunate to have this resource available right here in Newfane. In my work as the former Episcopal Bishop of Vermont, I know how important it is to have community resources that can help facilitate conversations across differences in a non-political way. RCJSBT is just such a community resource, and I am very grateful to be working with them. While relatively new to a full-time residency in Newfane since June 2019, we have owned our house here for over 10 years, and we appreciate being a part of this community and want to continue making contributions to its health and vitality. I think RCJSVT is one resource to help in that effort. The request for funding in 2021-22 is the same as was approved at town meeting for the current year's budget. I was there for that meeting and voted to support this budget item. Were we to have the opportunity to be together for town meeting this year, I would vocally support including this line item in the budget. Alas, that is not the case, so I reach out to you, our distinguished select board members, with my request that you vote to include this in the budget for 2021. I would be happy to speak further with any of you about this and discuss any concerns you might have. My contact information is in the signature of this email. Please support this valuable community resource by again including funding for the RCJ SVT in the budget. Gratefully yours, Thomas Eli.
Thank you.
No, easy, no.
I'm sorry,
I have a
what?
question.
Letters are good.
Any other question from the public?
If you have a question, please raise your hand so that I can call you. Ken?
Yes. Would it be possible for the other letters to be read at this point? I have some letters, and I believe Brenda Siegel has a letter as well.
Well, we have letters here. Reading letters that we received. We received a letter, Ken, and we received other letters also.
Have you had a chance to read them?
I have.
I have.
So the select board has read all the letters that have come in?
Yes, well,
Why
we
didn't you
have all the letters in the packet here. Shelley?
Yes, well, we've read the letters, and I'd like to make a point that as the select board and leaders of the community, we are not allowed to affiliate ourselves with a political, any political aspect of our community. And Dan DeWalt definitely made large statements about the political nature of his organization, how they would conduct conversation, a political discourse around what's happened in our United States. So I would ask that the select board definitely not approve of this appropriation for $1,000. For now, we used to approve it because it was a community justice, but now it's a social justice. And it used to be that it would be for criminal nature to say someone stole a bicycle, a kid, and they had to have a conversation with the person they stole the bike from and resolve that. That was one thing. Now this organization is now a social justice organization, and he has definitely stated numerous times about the political discourse, and as a select board member, I would vote no.
Brenda?
Thank you very much. I did not send in a letter. I came to make comments. Is this an appropriate time to comment on this subject? Okay. So I wanted to just say that the Restorative Justice Center does a lot of work, absolutely not political. I am working on currently with the Department of Corrections, which is a part of the Republican administration, on work around transitional housing and recovery housing. And they are requesting that all homes, sober homes and otherwise, have communications and connections to restorative justice centers, including this one, throughout the entire state, to ensure that people remain housed. And that's just one example of the many ways that this work absolutely gets done in a non-political way. While I do agree that while I would say that you all know me as a political figure as well, I also do work in a nonprofit realm that is not political, that is apolitical. And this is a nonprofit, and there are very strict rules. And if the government continues call it a nonprofit, that means it is following those apolitical rules. And Dan's engagement with politics outside of his career in this criminal justice realm, in this restorative justice center, actually is part of his free speech to be able to do that. And so I would just say that the restorative justice center is currently, I mean, literally a week ago, the Department of Corrections came out with this RFP asking all housing to have these connections. To lose any funding would mean that they would not have the capacity to do that work. And so it's essential to meet the Republican administration's needs to make sure that we move forward with this. So this is not, I would say that this is not a political organization, even though it is run by someone who we know is involved in politics.
Thank you, Brenda. Ken, I've already called on you. There are other people.
I know you've called on me before, but I'm a board member. Again, I want to be able to say that, you know, we have transcript of his statement from our last meeting, and his statement from Dan DeWalt, the differences between the people that support the president and his approach towards democracy and those that is vehemently against him. In this town are those that are vehemently against him, as well as across this nation. It is not just here in Newfane. So if we want to be a good town and good, happy community, I don't know, 50, 20, 60, 40%, we are in our community feeling comfortable speaking with their neighbors. And if about political differences are just one of them, just one of the things our committee can help mend, helping people communicate with each other without losing their tempers and keeping it focused on positivity. This again is a statement by Dan DeWalt regarding the political nature of what he proposes his organization does in our community. Again, I urge the select board to vote no for support of his organization. Currently, that it is beyond a social justice, it's beyond the original intent. It's now a social justice, and it includes a political nature. We as the select board cannot support anything that's in a political nature.
Okay, Gloria.
Yeah, I was listening to NPR, VPR, I'm not sure which one, but I agree with Brenda that the organization itself as a nonprofit, I looked that up as I'm looking into seeing about West River Valley Mutual Aid becoming an organization, a nonprofit, so it cannot be political. Now, I think that there's the NPR, VPR commentary by experts were really talking about, Shelley, the need to be able to bridge what, if you need to say their political views. I mean, they're family members who are just absolutely not able to talk to each other, have just said, you know, if you go this way, I don't ever want to talk to you again. So the implication I got from that discussion was that we're in a different realm. I don't believe that Dan is advocating that he himself, who may and does hold a political view, would say that he's promoting his political view. He's just seeing this as a social, an issue right now that is critical to our nation. We have, and I'm just, you know, it's an obvious division in our nation right now. And this organization tries to help people overcome specific political issues to be able to talk together. maybe to be able to get families who are so divided over political ones to say, can we just be family and never talk politics? So I wasn't on, I forgot to tune into the last one, but I don't believe Dan is advocating that it's becoming a political organization, that there are, I don't know, somebody else may be able to summarize it for me, that there are political divisions right now that are as bad as somebody stealing a bicycle, and more important than that in terms of our community being able to get along together.
Gloria, thank you very much for speaking, and you spoke very well about it. I do have to call on other people. Shelley, you've spoken twice already, and I need to call on other people right now.
I'd like to speak again.
What?
I would like to speak again.
She's a select board member, she can.
Okay, go ahead. I was just corrected. Anybody from the board has the right to speak more at this point. Go ahead, Shelley.
Okay. Again, Dan DeWall, another statement in the transcribed video. I am trying really hard to make it clear that this work is to help fix dissension among the neighbors, to help promote and get over any that is to get over. The only way to get over attacking the Capitol building and difficult all over the country. So this is not about choosing sides, it's about being able to communicate. Again, we're treading a fine line here. I urge the select board to vote no.
Dan?
I'm sorry. I was hoping not to have to speak tonight, but Shelley is actually spreading falsehoods about my organization, and she's spreading lies about me. So
I'm not spreading any lies.
I have to respond, and I would appreciate not being interrupted.
Dan, this is your word.
Shelley, go ahead.
May I speak without being interrupted?
Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you. Now, we are not a social justice organization. We are not anything other than a restorative justice organization. What that means is we bring people together to help them solve conflict between themselves. We don't even prescribe the way that they should solve the conflict. We just facilitate so they can get together without killing each other, and they can figure out how to solve the problem. Last week, I spoke to you about a current political problem in the United States of America, because we have one. We have people who are big fans of President Trump. We have people who disliked President Trump, and we had an insurrection. So we're at a moment where if there was ever a time where we all needed to be able to communicate to each other, this would be one of them. The fact that the topic that pulls us apart at the moment is political has nothing to do with our organization and how we would conduct ourselves in facilitating people speaking with each other. And I really resent the fact that even though I have said this many times and other people have also said this, and Shelley, if you would read the words of your poorly transcribed transcript even closely, you would see that I'm not advocating any political position whatsoever. I am advocating communication between people who have very opposite political ideas. And if I were to take a political position on this, it would be impossible to do my work. So I'm going to stop because I take great offense at what the board has, how they have taken this as an attack on me personally, an attack on my organization when my organization has a record and we have a mission, and that mission has been clear and has been carried out with honesty and integrity.
Okay, Dan, I would like to respond. Dan? Where is Dan?
I'd like to hear your response.
Where are you?
I turned off my camera because I am furious and I don't want people to see me when I'm furious, so I'm sorry.
Well, Dan, okay.
Yes.
I would like to speak for a minute because I think that certainly my job as a select board member has always been to hear all different points of view. and I cannot bring my points of view to the table because I am here as a select board member to represent all the residents of the town. And not everybody thinks alike, and not everybody lives in the same way. And I have run into people at Hannaford's and at Riverbend Market and various other places in my 6.5 or 7 years of being on select board. And people would come over to me and say, oh, I know you, you're on select board. And I said, yes, why don't you come to a meeting? And they say, oh, you don't want to hear what I have to say. And I said, yes, I do, because we have to listen and respect each and every person. And so somebody said to me recently, oh, how do you like select board being in politics? I said, I'm not in politics. I'm not a politician. I've never been a politician. It's the last thing I want. But I do need to listen to people. I made an oath about that. So we have Republicans, we have Democrats, we have all kinds of people living in Newfane. And we need to respect each other. And so therefore, it's just as important for me to hear what everybody has raised their hand about on the screen as there is for me to listen when people call me at home and express things. They don't have the desire or the courage, or they're too shy to come to select board members, but I do get phone calls. And those phone calls and what people have to say to me on my phone at home are as equally important as what all of you are saying to us right now. And I have to follow my job of being a select board member, and in this case, a chairperson, where it's my job to make sure we hear everybody's points of view.
Well, that makes perfect sense, Marion. You just made the case for putting this on the ballot. Then you can let the voters of Newfane decide. And the people like Shelley who think it's a terrible thing, they can vote against it. And the people who think it's a good idea can vote for it. If you care about everyone's opinion, what better way for everyone to voice their opinion than to be able to cast a ballot on it? But if instead you want to leave it up to the four of you to make that decision, I guess that's your right to do that. But if you really care about everybody in the town, then let everybody have a vote on this topic. We're not even saying guarantee it. You can run a campaign and vote it down.
I understand.
Marion, Ken Estey did not really speak on behalf of what he was speaking. He was just mentioning another person that would have comments. So yeah, I think it would be appropriate to let him speak.
Absolutely. I'm just also wanting to make sure that when Dan says that it's up to the 4 or 5 of us, unfortunately, that's how it works on select board. There are things that we have to vote on. That's our job. But Ken, would you like to speak? And then
yes.
Ken?
Right. Yes, thank you. I appreciate the chance. In the spirit of listening to the other people in town and hearing all the voices, I do in fact have a set of letters that I would request that the select board kindly allow me to read, so that you do in fact hear all the voices and all the perspectives here in town that we've collected. Might I do that?
When you say, how many letters are you talking about?
I have 4 letters.
Oh, God.
And it wouldn't take long to read them.
I say we need to hear that's what we're here for, is to listen. So we need to hear what everybody has to say.
That's fine.
I would say go for it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. So let me get started here. From Ann Golob, dear select board members, I am writing in support of approving the appropriations request for the Community Restorative Justice of Southern Vermont. I understand that the select board is concerned that the work of this group may be political in nature and thus not qualify for town funding, or that the political views of the organization's executive director may influence their work.
Not what it is.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I have seen I have seen the group in action here in Newfane, and I can attest, South Newfane, and I can attest to the fact that the organization is not political. The individual members and leaders of the group are there to teach skills and strategies to arrive at solutions that are mutually agreeable to all parties concerned. The organization does not act as judge and jury. They do not embrace political groups or espouse particular political beliefs. It is all about using the techniques and skills that have been developed from years of similar work across the world. Perhaps the most famous is from South Africa after the end of apartheid. Truth and reconciliation was the term that was used to bring people together to address wrongs and reach consensus on how to move forward as one nation. I had the privilege of visiting South Africa several years ago and heard moving stories about how people talked, owned up to the injustices they had wrought, and found the ability to reconcile their enormous sufferings. Now, about 2 years ago, there was a difficult situation here in South Newfane, where someone was squatting in an empty house and had stolen a bike from a home down the road. People were on edge and upset, both about the plight of the person who was squatting in the neighborhood and the neighbor who was robbed. Now, Dan DeWalt offered to do a restorative justice session to find an agreeable resolution for all concerned. I do not know of any other way that everyone could have come together and found a way to have a meaningful discussion about what was happening, how they felt, and figure out how to resolve the situation. But it opened up a path for discussion and to move forward toward resolution. It was not political. It was not related to the Democratic or Republican or any other political party. It was about a group of people who were upset and angry, finding a way to sit down and talk so that everyone could hear and decide together what the next step should be. I think having this organization in our community is a huge asset. It certainly was for the situation in South Newfane. I believe it merits inclusion on the town ballot, where voters can decide whether or not to support the appropriation. Thank you, and Golob 414 Dover Road, South Newfane. The second letter would be from Apple Gifford. Dear Newfane Select Board. Yes?
Can you tell me who was addressed, that letter? Who did that letter go to? To you?
From Ann Golob. It was in our packet for tonight.
Yeah, is that letter addressed to the Newfane Select Board?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. You
It was-
put that on the Select Board?
It was Dear Select Board members.
Yes. So we have those letters here.
Okay, so I'll go to the next one then, yes?
Yes, please.
Okay, Dear Newfane Select Board, I am writing in support of the appropriations request from Restorative Community Justice of Southern Vermont. I am a resident of Newfane and a longtime educator, and I believe that Restorative Community Justice is exactly the kind of organization Newfane should be supporting. I participated in a training with Restorative Justice this summer on nonviolent communication and restorative justice, and I have used my skills in a variety of settings. I use the techniques with students, colleagues, book groups, and friends. And what I've learned from restorative community justice has taught me how to bring people together around the common purpose with respect and compassion. There is no political agenda in the courses they offer. In fact, what I learned from restorative community justice has helped me communicate with people of different views more effectively. The techniques they teach are designed to bring people together and to offer safe practices for productive communication and collective healing. Given the difficult year we've all had, the resources offered by Restorative Community Justice of Southern Vermont are exactly what our communities need to help us come together despite our differences. Respectfully submitted, Apple Gifford, Newfane, Vermont. The third letter is, this is my letter. Dear members of the Select, Restorative Community Justice of Southern Vermont is an extraordinary asset to the town of Newfane and the surrounding communities. Its mission is more timely than ever before. Their emphasis on collaborative problem solving and the centering of healing relationships is exactly what we need in our time. Now, I understand the Select Board has a tie vote to continue funding and that you will conclude your budget deliberations tonight. Our social service agency appropriations are not merely expenses, they are investments in our social safety net as we serve the common good of all people in our town. And your vote to continue funding for restorative community justice is an investment in our young people, our families, and our schools. Repairing harm and reintegrating those involved in conflict back into the community is essential to who we are in Newfane. I do not speak for the Planning Commission, but as a member of the Planning Commission, we focus our work on conserving and enhancing Newfane's character as we consider matters of economic development and opportunities for young people and families. People from other towns in Vermont and even outside of Vermont look for homes for their children and their families on the basis of safety and a loving and caring environment. And we want to be that kind of town where people feel safe and wish to raise their children. We want to attract other people who share our values and wish to conserve and build on our deepest commitments. For me, restorative community justice is exactly the kind of organization that promotes an environment of love, care, and concern, especially for those who have been involved in a conflict or a dispute. It is committed to the practice of peacefully resolving conflict and building community. Among our social service agencies, restorative community justice occupies a unique place in its mission and its outreach to those who need to be heard and to be recognized. Similar to the other agency, it is part of a web of community building and makes us all stronger and more resilient to face the challenges still ahead. In the world of fiscal responsibility, we simply cannot afford as a town to lose the chance to support an organization that dollar for dollar more than pays for itself if we can keep young people and others out of the systems that cost even more money and burdens our tax base. It is an amazing down payment for our future and the sense of who we are as a community, a place where we concretely show our care for each other. Isn't this the kind of place you also want to live in? I think that I know all of you well enough to say that you also share this hope and this dream. In this spirit of community, collaboration, and our commitment to the common good, and yes, as a dollar-wise investment in our future, I ask that you deeply consider your renewed commitment to restorative community justice, just as you have in the years past. You've already done so, so please conserve your past support of this outstanding emblem to who we are as people in Newfane. With sincere appreciation for all that you do to protect our present and promote our future, yours truly, Ken Estey. Finally.
Ken, just a minute. I think Shelley has a hand raised, and I do want to see Margaret. Can you hear me? You just came on now, but I did read your letter.
Say yes.
Yes.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes. Did you read my letter aloud tonight?
Yes. Yours is the letter that I read.
Thank you so much, Marion.
And Thomas Eli is on, and we read his letter as well.
Yeah. Shelley.
Deborah.
So just to take this, with Dan DeWalt being a mediator and he's being very negative towards me. I'm not trying to be negative. All I'm trying to state is that we as the town cannot support any political efforts or political discourse. There is a fine line and we have to be mindful of that. So I urge the select board to vote no on this because he did in his discussion with us, with the board, specifically note that he was going to hold political discourse and mediate discussions, and we cannot support any political affiliation or political matters from the town.
But the Restorative Justice Organization is not a political organization.
I'm not saying it's not.
Raise their hand. Please do not call out. The next one is Winetta and then Deborah. Winetta and then Deborah.
In all fairness, when Shelley read that quote from the transcript, if you go 2 paragraphs up, Dan addresses a question that Mike had. And he says, Mike, what I said was that we have a serious difference in this town. Restorative community justice sees it as our mission to enable to communicate with each other. We are not advocating for one political position or another. We are going to work our best to get people who don't agree into the same Zoom room for the moment and to be able to communicate with each other and not hate each other. This is about trying to bring our country and our town together when it is fizzled and broken apart. So nothing about politics here, everything about building communities in spite of politics. I just wanted to point that out, that was part of a previous question that Dan was addressing.
Yes, but it's also, as I noted in my transcript here, it stated that.
Kelly,
I muted her.
you're not, I can't call on you right now because I have Deborah Luskin, who I said wanted to speak. So can you wait till Deborah's finished, please? Thank you. Okay, Deborah?
So a lot of people have brought up things that I would say I was not really prepared to speak tonight, but I moved to.
Deborah, excuse me, can you speak a little louder?
Yes. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Is that better? Thank you. This has been very moving and also a very good advertisement for the restorative process. I think that what restorative justice is mostly about is building relationships. And a lot of people tonight have said it has been about being heard. And I think that one of the things I've heard is, Shelley, I've heard you repeat yourself and you have been heard. But I was also at the last select board meeting, and I have a very different sense of what Dan said. And a restorative justice circle would be this would be a really good application for this group of people to get together. Too bad we can't do it in person. It's much more effective that way. And just go around in a circle and make sure that we've all heard it. Restorative justice has been used worldwide, not just in South Africa, but in Rwanda, in Palestine, and Israel, to get people who are really in deathly disagreement to understand what their common ground is, what their common humanity is, and how to move forward. It's used in Vermont, in Vermont's Department of Corrections, to hold people accountable for the harm they've done and repair it, rather than send people to prison. It's used in elementary schools. And I think that there's real oil and vinegar between you and Dan, where Dan's passionate about restorative justice and you're passionate about keeping politics out of the select board. I think that you're both right. I don't think that you're hearing each other well. And restorative justice is a really good way to help people in disagreement come to some common ground. And I wonder if you've had 4 or 5 chances to speak tonight to everybody else's 1. And yet I'm not sure from what I've heard you say that you have actually taken in what other people have said. And a restorative circle is a really good way to make sure that everybody is doesn't just get to say what they have to say, but also hear it. And to some degree, this is a kind of restorative circle. And I think it's, in a small town, it's really important to keep people's, your sense of what somebody stands for, that you think what they stand for, and keep that out of the way of what they are actually saying. Part of why I like to serve as moderator is because I think it's really important for people to speak and be heard. And I like to do the job of making sure that's done fairly. Finally, one more thing is that nobody is asking you to approve the money or not. I think you're just being asked to put it on the ballot so that voters can decide.
Thank you, Deborah, and you speak very wonderfully. And I have worked with court diversion and restorative justice in Brattleboro under the umbrella of youth services, and I've been doing this for years. And so I have my own personal opinions about things also. So I hope people understand that if I am adamant in saying that the select board does need to listen to different points of view, it's very important that that is done.
Well, Marion, I like to speak. It's not that I haven't heard and understand regarding what he does do with his organization. And I take offense that you think members in the community don't think that I realize that. But what I have to say and have said numerous times is that we cannot give to something that is political in nature or discussion of political nature. And if that's a situation that the town would like, they can all join and go to the circle at his organization. So I really, if we're all going to be a part of this town, I think we all have to hear both sides of it.
Thank you, Shelley.
Gerald Julian?
Yes.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. First and foremost, restorative community justice is not a political entity. It's been explained numerous times, so I don't have to reiterate that. My experience with it many years ago, we started using it at Leland and Gray High School, where many of the teachers, the staff, the students were engaged in the trainings. And then after that, it was used widely in our school, whether it was a problem between two students. I've used it in my classroom where either adults or students were the facilitators. Trained students were facilitators with other students when sometimes issues come up in the classroom, not in any way political, just personality issues, differences, you know. And so I've seen it used in our classrooms, in the communities. What Marion just said, I looked online just to double check, where is it used in Brattleboro? Youth Services uses it for diversion rather than sending kids through this court system. I have a son out in Denver who was, his vehicle was broken into by someone who is without housing, has no money. My son will never get restitution, but my son wanted to sit down and talk with the person who broke into his truck, who he caught doing it. Now, he doesn't want that person to go to jail. Obviously, there's reasons why this person is so desperate. And in Denver, they use community restorative practices. It is nothing about politics at all. And you know, it's communicating and healing, and even the words that are used about someone who's harmed. We don't even use victim. It's such a positive way for resolution of problems. And I know, Angela, you've worked in the court system for many years. You see what happens when people are just harmed and then angry, and then somebody ends up going to jail and it ruins their life. And that's not, I wouldn't want that. So I really urge the select board to allow the citizens of our town to make the decision whether to fund this. This should be put on the ballot. It should be an article, and then let us decide. Not that the select board should not decide whether it should be there or not. It is not in any way political. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Gerald. Shelley?
Yeah, so I just want to clarify again, I'm not saying that the organization is political, okay? What I'm saying is that the manner of what he has stated here, to have a political discourse, is something that we as the town of Newfane cannot provide support, financial support in. You're welcome to go and support it. I'm not saying the organization is political in any way. I have experience with it in the past with the diversions, etc. in the court system. I understand it, okay? I understand it. But as the town, Dan has made it very clear in many in his discussion with us, where it would be it would be used in a political way to have a discourse, okay? We cannot support any political discourse, political organization, political anything, okay? That's the point. That is the point.
Okay, Shelley, thank you.
Thomas Ely.
Thomas?
Yes, thank you very much. I've been waiting quite a while here. Thank you. And I came into the conversation a little bit past the start because I was on another conversation. Am I assuming that you read the letter that I sent to you? Will all the select board members who read my letter please raise their hands so I'll know that you have? I mean, good. I just want to make sure of that. Thank you. They were read aloud. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was on another Zoom meeting. I was on another Zoom meeting until 6:30, so I'm sorry about that. So I wanted to just bring the perspective that I noted in my letter to you, that some of you know that I'm the retired Episcopal bishop for the Episcopal Church in Vermont. And so I've traveled all over the state of Vermont working with communities and congregations over the years for 18 years. And the places that have opportunities to support the restorative justice process, in my estimation, have been a great benefit to their community. Not because they are advocating a particular political decision, but because they bring people together in relationship. And some Gerald and others have spoken very eloquently, Deborah, about the power of restorative justice. It would seem to me that having a resource as local as restorative justice community of Southern Vermont in a community would be seen as a blessing, as a benefit to our community to have such a resource here. And I mean, I support this organization personally with funds, and maybe many of you do as well. And the funds, I believe, that would be going from the town help to equip those of us who are being trained to be able to use the gifts and skills that we have to benefit our community. They're not the training that we have, and I've been to 7 different trainings now by Community Restorative Justice of Southern Vermont, and I participate in the Brattleboro Community Justice Center. I participate in 3 different circles of support and accountability. The money that helps train those of us who do this kind of work needs to come from individuals and is a good investment on the part of our community, the town of Newfane, in developing a resource that's then available when it's needed. And that's what I see as such a benefit. And it sounds to me like part of the debate that I came into is about whether or not the select board should make this decision as it prepares the budget, or whether the town people of the community should be able to vote on this. Either way, I think the wisdom here is seeing the benefit that this kind of trained leadership can provide when there is an opportunity for conversation across differences. I happen to also serve on the Episcopal Church's nationwide task force on communion across difference. There is so much difference in our culture, in our communities, in our churches, and those organizations that have the capacity to bring people together to talk across those differences are the ones that are making a significant impact on our civility. And it would seem to me that as select board persons, as leaders of a community, that you would want to encourage that kind of civil conversation across our differences in such a way that would allow people to be in community with one another and not be at political odds with one another. I have seen nothing in my couple of years now working with Community Restorative Justice of Southern Vermont or with Brattleboro Community Justice or across the state of Vermont in other restorative justice programs that has anything to do with being a political organization. Or even when communities, and there are lots of communities in Vermont who support their local restorative justice programs, believe me, with funds. So you are not alone in doing that. And it's a perfectly appropriate use of town funds in order to develop the resource that's there and the people who have the skills in the towns to be able to do this in a helpful way. So I want to encourage you, whether you want to vote on it tonight to vote yes, or put it on the ballot so we can vote yes, to put this before us in such a way to see the value that it adds to our community by bringing an opportunity for people to talk across their differences. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
I would like to say something, and that is that Thomas has reminded us what we are here for tonight. And that's the important thing. We are here tonight not to continue discussing the value of restorative justice or not. We are here to, as a select board, vote to give the residents of the town of Newfane the ability to go in and say yes or no. That's what we're here for.
Marion, I don't think we made a vote for that.
What?
I don't think we voted in that manner.
No, that's what we want to do tonight. That's the purpose of doing this tonight, that we had a tie last time. We said we were going to bring this to the public again, to the select board, and that what we want to do is to vote yes or no, aye or nay, saying that the residents of Newfane can have the opportunity to vote on this request for appropriations, just like every other appropriation request was done. Last week we said we weren't sure. Now we've listened to a lot of people speaking. We have gotten letters. We are not saying we are against or for restorative justice right now. We need to say, can we pass this opportunity so that the residents of Newfane can vote yes or no, and not just have.
Who made that motion?
What?
Who made that motion?
Nobody. I said that that's what we're working here for tonight. We didn't make a motion. Angela.
I would like to make the motion that it is included on the town ballot where the voters could decide whether or not to support the restorative justice organization.
Okay. I second that motion. Is there any discussion from the board about this, please?
Well, if it goes the way everybody said tonight, I mean, you can't really disagree with it. Like I said, I mean, there was something mentioned with the politics, is why we brought this whole thing up. And I have no problem with Dan DeWalt. I've never, I mean, I've always got along good with him when he talks and stuff like that. Politically, we both have our different views on different things, but
absolutely.
I mean, as far as this goes, if it's used for the kids and all this kind of stuff, like where it should be used, I see no problem with letting the people vote, but.
So, well, are you willing to vote to say that the Newfane?
Well, we've got 15 to 20 people here tonight who wrote letters.
Yes.
And that have spoke. You know, you need 5% of the thing that's pretty much covered that. So I mean,
right.
If you had a petition, you'd have to go along with it anyways. And
yeah,
like I said, you know, listening to all the different ones, everybody. I mean, we'll leave the politics out of it. It's a good thing.
Okay, thank you.
It's an important organization that deserves the funding.
I've always supported in the past. Right now, I am not because of the political discourse that is going to be done. So that's what I wanted you to be aware of.
Are we voting it off?
Okay.
Yes, we are voting now. We have a motion on the floor. I seconded. And what we are voting on now is to give the residents of Newfane the opportunity to vote on this appropriation request like every other appropriation request on town meeting day. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay.
Four
So
to
the
one.
ayes have it for it and 1 nay against it.
Yeah.
So,
Article
this
19.
appropriation will, request will be on the ballot, and then the other appropriation request is this year. Thank you very much for everybody coming here tonight and expressing your opinions, and I hope you all understand that we have to listen very carefully to all sides. Margaret, I'll ask you to speak the last one because you've got your hand raised, and then we're moving on.
No,
Do you want to speak, Margaret? Do you want to speak?
Hi. No, I think everyone covered what I said. I had just wanted to emphasize the non-political nature of discourse. But thank you so much for voting for it, and I look forward to having a chance to vote for it on the ballot. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you all for coming and
Thank
expressing
you.
your feelings and your opinions, and we're moving on.
Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Committee report.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. I'm out.
The Planning Commission. Kenneth, you?
Yes. Okay. So the situation is that we're here to talk about three things, and they're related under the umbrella of economic development. And I think that the first step should go to Jane Douglas. So Jane will lead with her angle and her work on economic development.
Okay,
So-
we have 5 minutes allocated to each of you, okay?
Yeah, Jane, you're on mute, just so you know. So go ahead, Jane.
I'll talk very fast.
Jane.
Just to say that we're working on the, we got Newfane in the broadband coalition known as Deerfield Valley Communications Union District, the mission of which is to promote broadband access for everyone in the state of Vermont eventually, but our particular corporation is for Windham County. I think the pandemic's made it pretty obvious that not only do you need electricity in a house these days, you need a good internet connection. Everyone here has a good internet connection, but 30% of the Newfane residents don't. And so that is the mission of the group. So that's what we're working for. It definitely is going to help the economic development in this area to recover. If you want to sell your product on Etsy or eBay, you have to have an internet connection. So I think it's a great tool for having our homes be valuable. You know, homes that don't have an internet connection don't sell so well. They're not as valuable. So it's I think it's something that will truly help the economic development in our community eventually when we get it all done in about 5 years.
Well, thank you for working on that, and thank you for the time you take, and then to come here and report is very much appreciated.
Okay.
Lynn? Oh.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to just say a couple words about economic development. And I'm very indebted to the Select Board for giving the Planning Commission time to talk about these things at the Select Board meetings, particularly the town plan. And particularly appreciate Shelley's overture in the last meeting to talk about economic development as such. And I just wanted to highlight some information from pages 69 and 70 of the town plan. And just to say that, you know, economic development is one of the reasons why we, you know, choose to organize ourselves into villages, towns, and cities. And what we do when we do this is we develop our resources collectively so all can share in the prosperity and the goods of life. And poorly planned economic development can lead to societal imbalance, causing a disparity in opportunity. And this contradicts the common good, and it violates human dignity when not everyone is able to participate and contribute to the community in which they live. So that's the philosophy that we set out as economic development, is, centered around the notion of common good, where we all benefit and where we can all participate. So looking very particularly at economic development policies, there are 4, but I want to highlight economic development policy number 2, because I think this really gets at the whole question about short-term rentals. Economic development policy number 2 is encouraging the development of home-based work and entrepreneurial ventures which preserve and revitalize Newfane's rural character and have no adverse impact on the community's environment or infrastructure. And we would consider short-term rentals a form of home-based work and an entrepreneurial venture. Okay, now going to economic development recommendations, we had 3 of them. Let me go with the first one only, and that is to propose and adopt regulations that provide flexibility in allowing various types of non-residential activity at residences. So short-term rentals are a kind of non-residential activity that occurs in a residence. And proposing and adopting regulations that provide flexibility to do this is part of what we've been doing when we think about short-term rentals. So I just wanted to very vigorously and very particularly and very concisely respond to Shelley's, much welcomed request to look at economic development, but then to bring it right to bear on the short-term rental question that we've put before you. So Lynn now will go and speak about short-term rentals. So Lynn, you're on mute.
Hi, Lynn. Is Lynn on mute?
Lynn's on mute and she's getting ready to be off of mute. So she'll be right with us. So while Lynn, I'm watching her mute button. So while Lynn's doing that, Lynn, and the whole select board had sent, the whole planning commission had sent to you, the select board, information on short-term rentals. Okay, Lynn.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I had the screen minimized so I could watch the agenda at the same time I was looking at everybody. Hello, good night. This probably, as far as what I have to say, is going to be brief. As we reported previously, the Planning Commission is working on drafting some regulations and bylaws, I should say the bylaw on short-term rentals. And what we have been doing is collecting information, collecting people's thoughts, their viewpoints. And we've met mostly, and we've had a number of people come to our meetings, and they have primarily been people who have short-term rentals. And at this point, we need the input from 2 sources. One, we would like to hear from the select board members. We distributed the draft bylaws to them previously, hoping that we would tonight be able to get their feedback. And then the other group of people we would like to hear from are people who do not have short-term rentals. And what do they think about it and how do they feel about it? We get different ends of the spectrum. So for anybody who's watching tonight or later, you can send your comments to Lynn, LYNN, .Forrest, FORREST, like Forrest Gump, @gmail.com. So at this point, I'd like to hear from the select board members as to what their feedback is about the draft bylaw.
Does anybody want to respond to Lynn? I have a question. Are you referring to organizations such as Airbnb?
Yes, the short-term rental would be Airbnb, VRBO. It would also include people who have short-term rentals in their home who don't or do not advertise over those platforms.
Okay. Brenda, you wanted to add something?
I just have a question. When you're talking about hearing from people, I don't have a short-term rental in my home. So when you're talking about hearing from people who don't have short-term rentals, my question is, so you are also talking about those homes that are purchased or bought up that are used as short-term rentals from people who don't necessarily live in our community?
That's one of the things we've been discussing, yes.
Okay.
But if you send me an email, I will be happy to send you the draft.
Okay.
What we have been very diligent in doing is balancing the wishes of the people who want to have them and people that are concerned about them. And we've been focusing in a lot of ways on safety issues, safety and health issues, and going along and somewhat beyond the requirements of the state of Vermont. So I'll send it to you.
I have no idea where this is at all because it got all messed up with COVID. But I know this was also being taken up in the legislature. So I don't know. There is someone who was part of that in Brattleboro. So I could also connect you to that person just to see where their thinking was so that we know what we're doing to ourselves when they're in the middle of something.
Yeah, I believe at this point, what I understand is that Brattleboro has this as licenses, and we, as the Planning Commission, thought that it would be better have this in our zoning bylaws rather than having people apply for a license. And we did hear from Wyndham Regional Commission. John Bennett sat in with our last meeting and said his opinion is Newfane is ahead of the pack on this, and that we're kind of leading the way as far as coming up with some structures on the on what to do about short-term rentals. So,
well, thank you. I'll send an email. I don't know enough to have a real opinion. I just had questions before I sent you the email.
Okay, well, you might end up having better questions once you read the ordinance. So it's up to you.
Okay.
So Lynn? Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, okay. So I got the whole packet and I replied to you. It looked awesome. And I just wanted to bring it out publicly that there is no requirements for insurance in the short-term rentals. So like a homeowner's insurance or anything like that. So that was kind of curious. And I think you responded, yeah, there is no insurance. And
that's correct. We have not written in insurance. We've written in a lot of other things. And so we've taken that, we'll add that, your comments have gone to Nolan, who's our secretary, is compiling all of the comments so that we have them in one group. But yes, we did add that comment about insurance.
Yeah, so that's even from the state down, that they have no requirement for short-term.
There is none. That's correct. There is none in the state, and we have had other comments similar to that. So we will be addressing that. And I don't know if it's our place to require that or not. But we'll be looking at it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for all the work. It looked great.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. No other comments on that, because it is really important for us to hear the different opinions from people. It's amazing when you work on a document or you work on things for a number of months, and I think we really started working on this heavily last August. You can end up blindsided because your head's in the middle of the weeds. And then somebody says, oh, what about this over here? And you go, oh, I didn't think about it. So we really need that kind of, oh, did you think about it viewpoint. So I know the select board members are really busy right now, but I'd appreciate your comments in email. Take the document if you want and scratch it up. And if you want a Word copy to be able to write all over it, that's fine.
Well, Lynn, the other thing was, I think from the community stance, there was in discussion through the years about this situation, and parking was a concern. So, over parking or parking, and blocking roadways. So right. Can you just fill everybody in maybe on that aspect? Because I think that was a concern for the community.
I believe that the parking issue would be appropriate to the number of bedrooms and the parking availability for the actual physical address. And that might be a situation where the DRB needed to actually go or have a video visit for their determination.
I think you guys have done a great job, and I go with Shelley. Insurance is a big thing to keep in mind, but you guys have done a wonderful job on this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn, for coming. And you're right. I personally have not given this too much thought because we've been so involved with budget season and where town meeting is going to be because of COVID and a lot of other issues that are somehow taking more time than allowed to start thinking about the next issues. But I acknowledge and I know that it's a very important project you're working on, and I look forward to having the conversations with you in the future about it.
Thank you.
Okay.
If there's nothing else, then I'm done then with the short-term rentals.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, all you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it. And thank you, Jane and Ken and Lynn for coming tonight. Okay.
Yeah, please come back and fill us in on another section of the town plan.
Oh, we would be very glad to do that.
Guys, thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate hearing all of the reports.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, we are going to go to the next item, and that is scheduled members of the public, and it is Deborah Luskin. Where is Deborah?
Hi.
Hi.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Deborah, so we're moving on
You're
to,
sitting here.
yeah, we're moving on to advanced planning for the town meeting, and we
Right.
need you desperately to guide us.
Well, I have been very happily learning a lot along with Winetta and Melissa. We went to, we first had a meeting with BCTV, which was fantastic, which was to help us with the public hearing on March 1st. And I'll get to that in a second. And the other was a meeting with VLCT, a webinar that's really good. It was helpful about the warning. And although I think we were pretty much already, Winetta, I would just say Winetta and Melissa were pretty much already on top of it. We've got really good people working for us in the town of Newfane. So I just wanted to tell you a few things that I learned that I think you need to know about. And that is the town is legally responsible for warning both the hearing and the Australian ballot. And they are separate warnings or separate announcements, whatever the legal term is for letting the public know when each is going to happen. And then I wanted to tell you so that you know, because I don't think we'll meet again until March 1st. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this is what we need to know. That the town of Newfane is going to host the Zoom meeting. BCTV will run the back end of it. Nolan Edgars is our tech person who will actually be controlling who can speak when. And everybody who, there will be 4 frames on the screen. One will be the 3 of you who are now sitting at the select board will be configured as it is now with 3 people on one camera run by BCTV and Shelley and Angela on their own Zoom. So that's one thing. Then the person who's speaking, and I'll be on the video, and I can't remember now who the 4th is. Maybe, no, it's 2 select board people, the moderator and the person who's speaking. There's 4. Okay. But we all need a detailed agenda so that we can follow the meeting, particularly Nolan, who will be quite remote. The meeting will be live streamed on the BCTV cable channel, and it will be recorded. So there's also information that I would like to get out to the members of the public so that they know how they can participate successfully. So, and I think this is also a step that we need to take to have a successful hearing. And that would start with the detailed agenda, widespread dissemination of the time and method of the meeting, including the guidelines for Zoom protocol, which I'll just go over. And these things should be posted in the usual places, the legal places for the town of Newfane's minutes, on the town website, and Front Porch Forum, the Reformer, the Commons, and we can also ask local organizations like the West River Care Group to put it on their local Facebook pages. And it would be great if on Monday, March 1st, Carol Hasselbeck, who I think is here tonight, could be there as the town clerk and presiding officer so she can be prepared to explain how the voting will go. That there'll be two ballots, that one will be tabulated by machine and the other will be tabulated by hand. So, Carol, we can talk. Are you here, Carol?
Yeah, it's there.
So,
By then, the people who want to vote early will already know they'll have the ballots if they've called and asked.
Right. Okay, so there will also be early voting, and I'll find out. Do you know when that will start? Early voting?
Yeah, I've got to send the ballot that we're going to have prepared by LHS for the tabulator next week. And as soon as I get the ballots back, and as soon as the town has the other ballot ready, people can start requesting them now, and I'll mail them out as soon as I get them.
Okay, that's great. And I can let people know in this, what I'm proposing to write up and put out. So this is the next thing on my list, is that I am willing to write the protocol for how people can participate in the select board hearing by Zoom. And I can run down it pretty quickly that, but this is not the same as the official warning to the town that it will take place. So, but generally here's the rundown. To participate, members should first update to the latest version of Zoom. Everyone will have to make sure that their legal name appears on their screen. It can't be, Jane's iPad. It's got to be Jane Doe, or your full name. People will be muted. Everybody will be muted when they enter the meeting, and they will be met by Melissa or Bonetta. They will turn off their cameras on entry. How the meeting will work. The select board will convene the meeting, and then you will need to ask the town moderator to facilitate, since this is officially a select board meeting. The moderator will read each article and open the discussion for each article. The members of their meeting I will have to teach everybody how to raise their electronic hand in order to be recognized, because everybody's camera will be off. Names will appear on the right side of the screen with a little blue hand that's raised. Maybe it's a yellow hand. And members will be recognized in the order in which they raise their hands. Members will be required or requested to state their name and address for the record. And everybody will get a chance to speak first before anyone is allowed to speak a second time. At the end of each article, the moderator has to clear the queue. I may need help remembering to do that, but that's a cue for Nolan to start over for each article. And so I can explain how everybody can raise their electronic hand. People can prepare for the meeting beforehand by reading the warning, which will appear in the front of the town report. They could write down their questions. They can also refer to, I would like to prepare an annotated warning that collates every question with the page on the warning where they would find the answers, so that they can educate themselves before they come to the meeting. And I would also, and I will have to, at the appropriate moment, remind people that the amount of taxes to be raised in the funding article, which I don't know the number of right now, will not include the amounts of the articles, 5 through 35 or whatever it is. I'll have the right numbers. So one of the things that I know you have discussed with Juanetta is that it would be really helpful for me and for the smooth running of an electronic meeting for me to know which of you select board members I should call on for particular articles. So I'll greatly appreciate you letting Juanetta know that. And that's it. Do you have any questions? Are there any questions about this proposal?
I just want to say thank you for all your hard work. This is great.
Well, it's a pleasure working with Juanetta and Melissa, I have to say. We have a lot of fun. But we also get stuff done.
Deborah, thank you. And you had mentioned this a few weeks ago to me. And so I know that it will be our job to make sure that each select board member will have a particular article or two to respond to, and you will get the list ahead of time.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. And so one of the things I learned from the BCTV is that when either one of the three of you at the table speaks, the camera will zoom in on you and there will be better audio, because I guess the magic of technology. I'll just say that. I don't understand how it works. But, all right. Thank you. Those of you who are going off the board, thank you so much for all you've done. And for those of you who are staying on the board, bless you. Be well. I'll see you on March 1st.
Okay. Gloria, thank you.
I guess I'm puzzled about what this hearing, I haven't been at every select board meeting, so could you give me the background of the hearing on March 1st? Is that, I mean, is that a town meeting if everything's going to be with the articles? Is it what?
Can I answer that?
Deborah will answer.
Yeah, sure. Gloria, this is the hearing that's required before, the informational hearing that is required before an Australian ballot vote. That must occur within 10 days of the Australian ballot vote. And it is a hearing that is held as a select board meeting. I mean, it's held by the select board. They're in charge of it. According to the Vermont League of City and Towns, most select boards ask their moderator to run it.
I guess I don't remember that from being on the select board. So,
but because we never had an Australian ballot.
I see what you're saying.
Board. This is, and we may go through all the mental hoop and procedural hoops for this and return to floor meetings next year. Hopefully the pandemic will be over.
Okay.
So this is only sense. Because of the Australian ballot for all our articles above and beyond our usual election of officers. Okay. All right. Any other questions before I go?
Lynn has a question.
Hi, I'm not sure that this is really for Deb or if it's for Carol, but I was reading about the responsibilities of the Justice of the Peace, and that they are to take ballots to people who are, or they're supposed to pick up the ballots and take them to where the ballots are being collected. And I'm wondering if there's anything that's been decided about how that's going to work.
I ask people to volunteer to do various things as we get closer to election day. So most of the time, Juanetta and Melissa have been helping me bring things from the town office to wherever it is we're voting, the voted ballots and stuff. But I'll put it out to the Board of Civil Authority and say, does anybody want to volunteer to meet me at the town office and help me bring stuff up? It's, you know.
That my question is mostly about the mailed ballots. When you mail ballots to someone, maybe they're a shut-in, and it's getting their ballot to you.
They have two choices. They can get it mailed to them and then they have to send it back, however. Or they can, if they're going to know that if they become suddenly ill and can't leave their place, they can ask for 2 justices of the peace to bring the ballot to them, wait for them to vote, and bring it back. They're 2 different things.
Right. So in that case, Carol, as JPs, you would contact and say, we have somebody that we need 2 JPs.
Technically, ahead of time, we're supposed to set up the pairs so that I know who to contact and say, I need to send 2 people here and there. And they should be 2 people from different parties if possible.
Not gonna happen.
That will work this time. We do have some Republicans who will be justices of the peace as of February 1st. So we'll work on that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Carol, for coming to Zoom.
I think Brenda had a question too.
Where is Brenda?
My question is just, I was on the voting. If my son wants to order, I can call you tomorrow. I'm fine. I just want to make sure that my college student gets to vote if he wants to.
I just saw your hand up and wanted to make sure you were heard.
I'll call tomorrow.
Thanks, Angela. I see that Sandy and Walter are here at the Zoom meeting. How are you? Can you put mute? They are mute. Sandy, can you unmute? Juanetta, can you get to her somehow?
All right, I think I'm unmuted. Hello, everybody.
Hi. Good to have you here. Okay. Oh, look who's here. You're getting ready for the BCA meeting. Okay. So I think we're finished. Deborah left, right? Is she excused?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to move on to old business. And this is very important. This is about the status of an animal control complaint that we have been dealing with. And Mike Fitzpatrick had offered to investigate and check up on things. So do you have a report for us, Mike?
Yeah, I don't have the pictures yet, but I can show them to you this week sometime. That the lady has been keeping them on a leash. She has the muzzles for the dogs that need to be muzzled. And I think she's pretty much got it under control.
You went over there and saw it?
And talked to her, yeah.
Oh, you talked to her?
Yeah.
And so,
So I'll have the pictures for you anyways, so you see it.
Okay.
They don't have no kennels or nothing like that up. I told them just as long as they kept it on their own property.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, did they have a rope,
What?
a tie out?
They've got like a chain thing there that they tie them out on. Yeah, but like 1 or 2 at a time. They don't put them all out. And then they walk 2 of them at a time and stuff like that, you know. Not all 3 of them.
So the requirement through, I'm not exactly sure, was it through the sheriff or was to have a chain link fence built?
Well, somebody said something about a kennel, right?
in a kennel.
But I mean, I don't think that's in any of our things to make them put a kennel up, you know? If everybody had a dog, had put a kennel up, everybody in town had to have a kennel.
Well,
I mean,
because of the malicious manner of their actions in the past, that was the requirement, so I just wanted to make sure that there was some way.
No, I let them be aware that, you know, they had to keep them controlled. And if they did go down on the other guy's property, I mean, they actually really have the right to shoot the dogs.
Right.
And, you know, and like I said, that's nothing we're looking for, and I don't think the owner is either. And I know, I mean, the owner of the other property. But, you know, so I mean, that gives them a little bit of a incentive to keep kind of an eye on them. And, yeah, I can't see where they don't have kind of control of the dogs, you know.
We also have an email in our packet from Annie Gouen from the Humane Society regarding the dogs.
Yeah.
Can you read that, Angela, please?
I would love to. From Annie Gouen, dated Friday, January 8th. Hello all. A quick update. The owners brought 2 dogs to see our veterinarian for routine vaccinations and nail trims on Wednesday. We saw no signs of aggression in either dog. Many dogs are fearful in the shelter, but these dogs greeted all staff with tail wags and kisses, even while having their nails trimmed. I spoke with the owners myself, and they were respectful and compliant. Annie Gouen, Executive Director of the Humane Society.
So that sounds like great news about dogs, but I guess we just have to be mindful about, you know, what is happening with them.
Yeah, I'd say that we should check in every couple months or every other month or every month or so.
Yeah, well, just because everybody's on here, we are looking for a dog catcher or animal control person in the town of Newfane. So we have a job available.
Do you think, Mike, you could check in probably in a few weeks or so with them just to make sure everything's good?
Yeah, I'd probably just call her again or check with her or something.
Yeah, just check in.
But I think probably the most important thing is right now is let them other people know that we've looked into it and everything looks like it's under control. And if they see any other incidences, then they can report it back to us again.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for following through with that, Mike. And it is very important that we do get in touch with the people who had a great concern about this. It's also very reassuring that the people at the Wyndham shelter had positive things to say about the dogs and how the owner was being with them. So thank you for all of that. It's a big relief.
Yes, because just as a reminder, I mean, if there was an issue of a lawsuit to the town, we'd have to deal with that.
Right.
So we're trying to avoid having that as an issue.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike, for taking on that extra charge.
Absolutely. The next item on the agenda is being tabled for the near future. It was about a property, some conversation, but it's being tabled. So we are moving to new business. Is there any new business that somebody wants to discuss? Okay. We had the correspondence read before, and so we are about to do, well, are we doing pay orders first and then BC?
Brenda, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just don't know when the appropriate time is to just make an announcement that I wanted to make. I don't know when that is on this meeting. So
I would say go for it now, or we're still kind of on the tail end of correspondence and announcements correspondence, right?
Okay. I just wanted people to know that tomorrow I've coordinated with the Newfane Church. Tomorrow at 5:30 for 1 minute, they're going to ring the bells in memory of people who have been lost due to COVID. So that's going to go for 1 minute. So when you hear the bells ringing, that's why it's in coordinates with a National Day of Remembrance, where they're asking people to do a prayer or just silently think about people who have lost family members and the people that have been lost.
Oh, thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Marion, we do have one piece of correspondence that wasn't addressed from Barry. Sorry if I butcher your last name, Aleshnick.
Go ahead, Angela, read it.
Okay, it's from Barry, dated January 5th to this Newfane Select Board. I was informed by Deb Luskin that the board approved the request to move the Commons distribution box from the former eatery to the Williamsville Hall porch. Our drivers will effect that change tomorrow as he makes his regular deliveries in Newfane. On behalf of the entire team here at Vermont Independent Media / The Commons, I want to express my appreciation to you for having granted us permission to make this change. There are several dozen residents who regularly get the Commons from that box. This change will make access to the paper easier for them. Service to our communities is our primary goal, and steps like this one move us in the right direction. Thanks so much.
Thank you for reading that, Angela. I have a question to everybody on Select Board. Mike and Chris are better at this than I am. We do have a meeting, a second meeting that we have to deal with the BCA about where we're going to have the official town meeting day. However, we still have pay orders to do, so do we have?
You can make a motion to suspend this meeting.
That's, yes.
Right? And then go to the BCA and then come back to this meeting?
Yeah, you're supposed to do these in order.
You're supposed to do it, pay
I
order.
make a motion to suspend the meeting.
I'll second.
It should only take like 2 minutes for them.
Spend it, I don't care.
What do you think?
Whatever, if we're gonna be here for the length of time what it takes to matter up, so.
Okay, we will suspend this meeting. We'll get back to pay orders. So we're gonna now open the meeting again to the
Well,
Board of.
you have to vote on it. There was a motion made and a second.
Oh. All those in favor of suspending this regular meeting for a few minutes so that we can go into the next meeting of the Notice of Board of Civil Authority meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we will go on with that.
Yeah, this BCTV state this one too.
Oh, does BCTV listen to this?
Yeah, because it's still a public
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay.
And
Priscilla,
there's more than a quorum, you have to.
Priscilla, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay. Are you going to
So-
leave? Can you
so,
leave this meeting?
I'm going to call the meeting to order of the Board of Civil Authority. It's 7:52. And we are looking for a motion regarding the location of the Australian ballot vote on March 2nd, 2021.
I'll make the motion. I move that the Board of Civil Authority vote to have the Australian ballot on March 2nd take place at the Newbrook Fire Station on Route 30 instead of at Williamsville Hall.
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Angela. Is there any discussion?
I can explain quickly. We want to move it because if we're not having an in-person town meeting, the fire station has more parking and is easier to access for people and easier to move the snow that if we have snow that day. So that was why some of us were thinking that would be a good place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
And
Great
it will
call.
be-
Just to make
it will
sure.
be set up exactly the same way that we do every other election.
And I checked with the fire department and they're fine with us doing that. And they put it
Excellent.
on their calendar.
Just Carol, just one time, nobody plowed the parking lot for one of the elections, so it's either got to be the town or the fire station. So I'm sure they wouldn't do that to you, but just to make sure.
I'll talk with Jay. and
Yeah, just be in touch with Jay. He'll take care of it.
Yeah.
I have to tell him where to set up the voting booths anyway, so I'll mention the plowing.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
So I guess, Carol, you'll let us know if you need help.
Yes, oh yes, I'll ask for help. I'll send out an email closer to. I'm also going to send out an email at some point this week with the oath that all of you have to take, the justices of the peace have to take in order to take their positions February 1st.
Thank you.
Do we need to come in
No,
to do it?
I'll send you the form and then you can either print it out and sign it and mail it to me, or this year I'll let you submit it to me electronically, or you can ask me to mail you one if you need me to do that.
Okay. So we just need to respond to you.
Yep.
Any further discussion about the Australian ballot being at the fire station? We ready to vote? All in favor of having the Australian ballot at the fire station on March 2nd, 2021? All in favor, say aye or raise your hand maybe.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstains? All right. Vote passes. We're all set.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
I move to
So,
adjourn the meeting.
a motion to adjourn?
Gloria,
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Meeting's
you.
adjourned.
Thank you all for being here.
7:56.
So we go on, we're moving on and we're going to end this part of the meeting. And so, thank you all for being here tonight, and please drive safely and stay healthy. Good night to all.